Well, morning, fellow zombies. I am not alive. I am not awake, but I am here. And emotionally, I guess I'm still trying to avoid being pissed off because I already knew this stuff was happening left and right, but I didn't want to be one of those people saying, I told you so. It's 1:57 in the morning, West Coast time. It is Tuesday, the 12th of November, 2024. It is a week after the election day, and we got more divisions and more splits than anything else happening in our country and in our lifestyles. So for those out there in the globe, well, I don't know if it's a good greeting or bad greetings for the United States of America. Right here in California, I can report that we've got about over 40%, more than that, containment in our Ventura fire situations because of the Santa Ana conditions that happened last week. It was perfect conditions for fire that happened, and then all hell broke loose. Politically speaking, this fire has already been happening for decades on end, and then when we finally get the split, starting from 2016, no more than that. Tea Party, or how back can you backdate all this anger and vitriol? 2016 was definitely a major split in our country's psyche. And 2020 became disastrous for one particular party, but it still grew. So now it is 2024. We're going back to repeating of 2016 again, but this time we're getting more and more reports on the independent channels out there that people had been worrying about things happening, and it did. There were people fearing the government couldn't help out anybody because of the political split and the political anger and vitriol. Veterans Day, you had a group of Fox reporters out there, news uh, media pundits out there at a veterans gathering. And when the national anthem came, one guy decided no, he's not putting a hand over the heart. Because his heart is still troubled by what's happening over the past decade and a half. And more than that, it's getting more and more apparent that we got a civil war happening among us because we do have the split. We do have the split. We wanted to have a president to try to bring us and bind us together, but unfortunately, we didn't have him strong enough, unfortunately. Because now we got the anger and vitriol running things. Case in point. A couple of stories I was coming across YouTube on, and I got to get the links and throw them in on my description when I get a chance. One story I came across locally out in California. There was a history professor, or actually there was a teacher somewhere in one of our high schools, who got a problem concerning about one of the kids bringing in a MAGA hat day after the election. And according to what had been recorded and broadcasted to a lot of stations and stuff, not to mention social media, this teacher went nuts. Yelling and screaming at a kid for bringing in a MAGA hat and wanted him to take the damn thing off. Because he's got a problem concerning about Trump and his past and everything else that's going along with him. He didn't want that he didn't want that in his presence, in his class. And so the administration is going to be probably deciding what this guy's future is going to be with the school district. It was reported that he was under fire at this point for expressing political viewpoints the day after the election. They're not supposed to have any political viewpoints, but unfortunately, he does have political viewpoints. Even my own professors at colleges would have viewpoints concerning about characters out there, historical characters. And you either took it with a grain of salt or else you got offended by it. Now, when the Trump came in 2016, one of my professors out there dealing with political science, he wasn't going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And even with the political changes happening, he still wasn't going to deal with it. He wasn't going to touch it. I'll touch other topics concerning about what to, you know, what to educate the students about, directing them into different things to learn. But he wasn't about to install, or he wasn't about to share his own viewpoints. Admirable to one point. People wanted to know what his viewpoints were. I guess in a way either to judge the guy or try to gauge him in conversation or something else. And the professor would not engage. He already said it outright. He wasn't going to do the political viewpointing stuff. He's there to present his material to the class and for the class to learn from him, but also to do their own research necessary to continue their own learning abilities. Okay, I can deal with that. And even during the time when people are trying to put a hand over heart, there was a lot of people who put a knee on the ground. They got chastised, but they held their ground and suffer consequences afterwards. We are politically divided. We are more than just politically divided. We are culturally divided. We are divided in many ways right now. I don't know how we can call ourselves the United States of America anymore. Our press is supposed to keep us in check, to stay on top of government stuff, but also to present facts to us that matter to us, that we can see and review the viewpoints, that review the matter, see the subject from all positions, and not just one viewpoint. But unfortunately, we got polarized media that you turn on one particular network or two, you got anger and vitriol. The other one, you still got anger and vitriol. I can't decipher which is the quote-unquote righteous one. When they keep pounding their chest and say, I'm the better one. I'm. And what I'm seeing is more of the anger and vitriol that's handed down from school teachers to, I hate to say it, to disaster workers who are trying to help out with disasters that actually happened. The past couple of hurricanes that we've had for about 2 years, or less than that. How about just this year that we actually had two disaster hurricanes that came in to the Gulf course, yeah, the Gulf of Mexico, and tore apart our states left and right, including Florida. One came from the Cancun area, went through Florida like with butter, and then kept going. And there were workers out there, supervisors, trying to find people that they can help. There's stories happening throughout the current Biden administration that the government was not going to help anybody else. They're too corrupt. Well, we've already had that kind of situation happening when Trump was in office. So what's the difference? The difference was we actually had a supervisor out there instructing his workers to look out for Trump election signs. And this is just before the election hit. Just before. And if there was any sign saying that was Trump, they were avoided. So we had about over 20, maybe, according to the news reports. When the upper ranks of FEMA found out about this one, the supervisor was immediately fired. FEMA is supposed to be nonpartisan. FEMA doesn't care, theoretically, doesn't care about your political viewpoints. If you got into a disaster, they're supposed to be there to help you out. And there had been people pushing back on FEMA because they felt there was partisanship. Were they right? They're not supposed to be partisan. And how the story got out is whistleblowers. They blasted it to the media, and they blasted it up to the ranks. But here's the thing: the media didn't pick up on it as much. Maybe one outlet or two picked up on it, but everyone else was silent as hell. Even I kind of like I'm going to locate and put it into my description when I get this thing processed. I was trying to stay away from all of this stuff. I was trying to keep myself at a distance from all this stuff because, frankly, it was depressing the crap out of me left and right. When I knew that Trump was getting into office, we were going to be in for another round of a lot of more depression, hatred, vitriol, anger, finger pointing more and more. It doesn't end. I've seen it get worse. Studying history and studying political science and trying to figure out all this stuff out, it's no wonder people are getting headaches over this damn shit. I'm a college student. I'm 15 years old. I've lived through a hell of a lot of crap. But I've never seen anything this deeply insane. And it's gotten worse and worse over the decades. Of course, I could keep trying to scratch my head saying, how? It's been happening. We just got our eyes opened. Even when the election started, not of our time, but when the country started, there was even problems with that during that time. Here's the thing. If I'm going to go back into history on this one, how much contention have we had throughout human history over it? If I was just going to be focusing on U.S. history, that's bad enough. Because in U.S. history, we were that contentious. But wasn't reported all that much about how negative and vitriol and everything else. If we actually had social media, if we actually had the technology we had right now, back then, when they started out with this country here, you know how bad we would be showing ourselves? Oh my God. It should not have surprised me, but it does. There's one thing when you had kings and monarchs and rulers of other countries that sometimes fostered civil war. Even England had it. During the time of America's colonization, well before they actually had the states, they were having their own civil wars left and right. Which particular monarch, which particular leader they're going to be following. Doesn't matter which particular country it is. They still have the strife. Why should it surprise us right now as it is right now? In our own country, why should it surprise us? Why should it be freaking everybody else out in the media? There's the reason why I keep saying history, history, history. I didn't care about it as a kid a long time ago, okay? Maybe something about space history got me involved with the fantasies and the romanticism of it. And science fiction, learning about other things through science fiction and dystopian viewpoints. Without context, without perspective, it's just information stored in the brain, ready to be blurted out as just, you know, okay, I put it in there, I give you out. Okay, go garbage in, garbage out. Bingo. But you get older and you see things and you experience things, so you read about things happening in real life. And then you start trying to figure things out in your head. The more brain cells are still trying to figure things out and getting more and more perspective on it. It's where you mature and you're realizing just how screwed up the human race is. See, I'm not reacting as badly as everybody else is because perspective, context. Your own history, your own personal history. The ones that are watching this video right now, your own personal history. You have your own context, your own viewpoint, your own perspective. You're seeing things, reading things, and you're still deciding whether or not if this is true or not. Granted, there's a lot of illusions out there that some things are false or not. I know there's a lot of QAnon conspiracy crap still floating around there. In our day and age with social media the way it is, all those zeros and ones, now we got artificial intelligence. Just how badly is our history books are going to be screwed up right now as it is. And the thing is, we depend upon history books because they're supposed to be vetted, right? They're supposed to be accurate. And yet we have our history being rewritten, even though we've had these books for how many years? How many decades? A lot longer than than our lifespan. And then we've got new stuff coming in that the professors and historians and archaeologists and everybody else digging up and contradicting books. Well, they contradict. But they've been doing that for decades as well. Why should that surprise us? We got different viewpoints of what history is. There's not one viewpoint. As I said before, in a lot of my examples, I've been trying to tell people, see this fist? It's supposed to be representative of a globe. I don't have a globe. I don't have a round orb. Maybe I do. Plastic piece of crap, but it still works. Okay, so this is history. This is the item of our viewpoint. This is what we're observing, interacting with. This is what we know. But you see, how it is. Imagine this: each ridge, each shade is a different context, perspective, but on the same topic. This is the topic, whatever it is. But you see how everybody else is looking at it from different angles. I can warp this thing around here like crazy. I mean, granted, a long time ago it was a Christmas decoration. It doesn't matter if it's a Christmas decoration. Okay, this is a Christmas decoration. This is a fact. This is plastic. This is our topic. This is the thing that we have to observe and talk about. Okay? Many ridges, many shapes, many different particle patterns on here. But you're looking at from your own eyesight, your own viewpoint, your mental, physical, whatever context you're trying to put it into, whatever kind of perspective, you're looking at the item itself. It may be rotating, maybe not be rotating. Is it rotating? I don't know. Because on my particular viewpoint, I'm looking at one thing. I'm looking at here. I'm looking here. Between where my fingers are. Okay? Hurting like crazy, but this is it. This is what we're dealing with. Everyone else is looking at it from a different point of view. If this was a globe of the Earth, we would be looking at different things on the Earth itself. I mean, I could throw in the modern technology, doing a Google map, doing a Google Earth, showing you what it looks like, what is being presented to us, and how we're supposed to be looking at it. But this is a plastic thing. It could be debated upon whether or not it's a Christmas ornament or not. Because we're looking at it from different points of view. We're looking at the topic. This is topic. This is subject. This is fill in the blank. Okay? But we have our own two eyes, our own perspective, our own logic, looking at this thing here. We're only looking at it from one side. We can't look at it on the other side because we're not looking at it from the other side. We're only looking at it from our side. There's a blemish. There's a blemish. My viewpoint, if it was constantly looking at us, I'm telling you that there's a scraped off blemish on this thing. You'll say, no, it isn't. But there is. I argue about that. There's a blemish on this thing. This thing isn't perfect. And go horrible on this one over here. Your particular viewpoint is probably on this side. What's happening on your side? Nothing. So you're telling me you don't see this, but I see this. I see this. I'm putting this on camera. See? I'm putting this on camera. But you're saying, it's not there because I can't see it on Apple because I'm looking at this. What we're facing currently, right now, this is it. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with on a constant basis. This is why I can't freak out as much because I already knew this stuff was happening. And this was coming up and this was going to be driving us crazy. Even if Harris did get in office, we still would have had this going on. We still would have had this anger and hatred going on. And now we got it because we got the Trump era coming back. And we got the other guys spouting out the vitriol left and right. And now we got to deal with 4 years of this shit. If we're lucky. And the fears and phobias are telling us it may get a lot worse. Me being a constitutionalist, I hate to see things happening to the Constitution and how it's getting violated left and right. Civil rights getting violated on a constant basis, freedom of speech being attacked left and right. I'm a First Amendment kind of guy. I like the First Amendment. It gives us the power that we can't to disagree with everybody. I can disagree with you that the spot wasn't there, and yet the spot was there. But this is what we're dealing with. So, how are we going to be doing with this? There's no set pattern on this. There is no set direction on this one. I deal with it as best as I can. And if I'm going to be avoiding it, I'm going to be avoiding it. But if I keep talking about it on a constant basis, I'm going to be like every other damn sandbox out there, repeating myself. Can I change the elections? No. Can I change your viewpoint? Can I? Am I allowed to? Did you learn something? Did you actually been educated about something? Did you actually saw the spot? Or was it somebody else's imagination? But do you have a hell of a lot of anger, vitriol, and anger at people? Frustration? Rage? They're different. They pushed it. It's always their fault. But here's the problem. We have a response to that. We're responding to it. I try to look at common gray areas. If there's anything to be agreed upon, but if there isn't, then my viewpoint is looking at a spot on a piece of plastic where you're not seeing it. And I can't show it to you because my viewpoint is my viewpoint and not yours. And we're still going to be arguing about it, even though I will agree that, yes, we got a lot of people pushing their own damn agendas down our throat and wants us to be hateful at anything and everybody. And they want it that bad because that's the world they live in. That's the world they want us to live in. Your choice. We got guys coming into the administration that are going to be pushing the same damn agendas back in 2016 down our throats. When they came into office and power back in 2017, it really exploded, didn't it? And for 4 years, we actually had that shit happening. Now we got to go through the cycle all over again. But keep this in mind, this is not new. I said before, history repeats itself in cycles. I said it before in my other channels, somewhere. We're having it right now. We're going to be dealing with it. Doesn't mean we have to like it. I am responsible for me. I am responsible for what I say. I am accountable. I'm transparent. At least I try to be anyway. I have to matter about what I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm presenting. Which means I have to take ownership. Can somebody else do that? We're not done with this topic, not by a long shot. But we haven't studied human history enough to figure out that we are so screwed up as a human race. We got our differences. We don't like other people doing the things that they want, breaking rules, regulations, laws being made into their favor. Autocrat societies out there generated little empires. Yeah, as I said before, history, history, history. But we still haven't learned a damn thing, did we?